All right, guys, before we get into the video, no, not going to ask you for money. I'm going to recommend that everybody start using post-certification numbers to identify officers in their videos. These numbers are how these agencies identify officers in their systems. And believe it or not, these post agencies do see these type of videos. Giving them that number would make it a whole lot easier for them to open an investigation and start looking into somebody because they'd know exactly who they're talking about. You're going to see that number used a few times in this video, and I've had very good luck getting this information from the post agencies. They are somebody who is in your state involved in the oversight of law enforcement, so they do have an interest in assisting the public with their public information requests. So let's just start using these numbers if you guys don't mind. It might help.
Excuse me?
What's your name?
I know who you are.
What's your name?
Excuse me?
What's your name?
Excuse me? I know who you are. I know who you are. I know who you are.
Sergeant Rob Neff. What's your name?
Excuse me?
What's your name?
I know who you are. And that's, if you'd ask politely, I would
Neff?
tell you.
Fuck off. What's your name?
Excuse me?
What's your name?
I know who you are. And that's, if you'd ask politely, I would
Neff?
tell you.
Guys, the original complaint that I sent in was about Sergeant Neff being a smartass instead of identifying like the policy says he's supposed to. This policy went into effect in June of 2020 after we first came out filming. Now, this is a situation where there's an obvious policy violation combined with sarcasm and hostility and caught on video, and it's still exonerated. They say he did not violate policy. And this isn't the old guard. Chief Lockhart signed off on this. And what this says is that he's basically just taken their word for it. The same old guys. So I reached out to try to understand, how is this going to be allowed to buy? He's going to have Lieutenant Unruh call me. I don't want to talk to anybody else. And that's what I sent back. His understanding of the situation was incorrect. I didn't know who Neff was when I asked. And it really shouldn't matter what LPD thinks I knew or didn't know. Policy is policy. We don't get to explain why we broke the law.
What's your name?
Excuse me?
What's your name?
I know who you are. And that's, if you'd ask politely, I would
Neff?
tell you.
These things were handled at the patrol level.
That's right, folks. This is an OPA issue, an OPA decision that was passed down to Neff's boss, a patrol division lieutenant, to call me. Now, what can a patrol division lieutenant explain to me about an OPA investigation? Unless he's involved in clearing that officer.
There will be no investigation through the Office of Professional Accountability.
And how could there be when they don't clear up any questions they have before they've made their decision? They made a decision that I already knew who Neff was before I asked, which was incorrect. They never asked me any of this before. They waited until after.
The conversation with Ryan Halstead, when he calls me talking about Sergeant Neff refusing to identify himself in my neighborhood. I know you're aware of all this. If you're not involved, you may be aware. But he refused to identify himself, and now I'm being questioned about how well I knew Sergeant Neff and how long I've known him and how many interactions I've had with him, as though it matters in the context of whether or not this officer identifies himself on the street or not. This is no different than the rape victim that goes to the hospital to get examined, and she feels like she's being treated like the suspect. This is no different than that. I made a complaint about Sergeant Neff not identifying, and now I'm being questioned about how well I can recognize Sergeant Neff.
Hey guys, here's a screenshot of the request I put in to get a copy of the audio recording between Halstead and I, where he was questioning about my knowledge after the OPA decision has already been made. This is not an investigative record. This is a conversation with a citizen about a complaint that that citizen made. The creative way that they found to deny this is interesting at best. I'll give you guys more on that after I have a chance to talk to an attorney.